who they are. So these 11 plants are buried in this thesis for those who take the time to read and understand. It's important that we educate ourselves about all this, because if we don't, they're going to be taken away from us. It's really, really important. It's already happened in Europe. We made a big risk as in this movement, this herbal movement that, you know, we're sitting so comfortably. Some of us are old enough. I'm on the low end of that, but some of my elders are in this circle. And I know you represent a culture when you can remember the person who made the whole wheat bread, and the person who knew how to make the tofu up the street. And the current generation doesn't know that. They think that there were always health food stores, and that there were always 4 kinds of bakeries around, that there were always, you know, hundreds of herb books to choose from. They don't know that there was only Jethro Kloss Back to Eden for a long, long time, you know? And them not knowing, they take it for granted. That's why we have to keep this knowledge alive. Hey, you need to remember, this stuff was built from hard work of 30 years of these people coming together and saying, this is important, I'm going to open a little store up. I'm going to start sprouting and start telling my friends about it. That's why you can buy sprouts in the local grocery stores, because of that hard work of all these people who've come before us, who are tired now, and they're worn out, and they're wondering, is it going to happen? You know, this change that we've been waiting for. And I'm telling you, it's accelerating. It is accelerating. It's happening. And it's happening in a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful way. And the reason that we need to be on it is because there's movements who want to control the knowledge. Because what we did is we said, you know, these herbs are important. These herbs are very, very important. And they do have efficacy. And we can even show you that within your game. Because we can feel it in our bodies, but you don't give any credit to this. But we can show you, even with your rat studies and your, you know, your in vitro studies, which means they put it in a petri dish and all that. We can even show you it has that. And we have the studies already done, thank God. We had the Europeans were 20 years ahead of us, and we leaned heavily into the Europeans. We said, look at all these studies. And they had yeah. And it broke through. And we had James Duke, who was at the USDA pumping it through, you know, and it broke through, and now it's out there, and the money's there, and it's on TV, and people say, eat ginkgo, and eat St. John's wort, and eat echinacea, and people are, but they're getting it in pills. They don't even know what it looks like, but they're getting it in pills, and they're buying it, and they are feeling better. But you know, if they knew the plants, it even worked even more. So we're at this turning point, because you know what happened? The Europeans are getting put in a corner, the European herbalists, because you know what's happened, and the corporations are saying, you know, you're right. Those herbs are powerful. And you know what? They're so powerful, we shouldn't put them in the hands of people anymore. They should have to have a prescription to get those herbs. And what I did today with you all, for some of you all, would be illegal. You know, it almost is. It's right on the edge there, you know, of what I shared with you all. If I say too many times prescribe, or what are those 4 naughty words that if I use them, prescribe and cure, I can't cure you, or I'll go to jail. If I try, I can't even offer to cure you, right? I can tell you stories, and I can tell you stories, and you are in charge of your own bodies, and it's very important that I draw that line, or I won't be here. You know? So there's a thing called the Codex Alimentis that's come before our government 4 times in the last 7 years or 8 years. It's come out of Europe. The Europeans have signed it over. They forced England into it. England was like, no way, and they said, you can't join the European Union unless you do this. And they resisted for 5 years, and now they've signed it over. And that means that there's a list of herbs and vitamins and things they can't get over the counter anymore. You have to go to a doctor and get a prescription for it. And this is a very, very, very important thing. For instance, kava kava. Has anyone ever heard of that? You can't buy that over the counter in Europe anymore, because that's considered a controlled substance.
Can you grow it? I mean, are they putting in prohibitions on that? Or?
Somewhat. At least, and a lot through ignorance and fear, you know, that kind of thing. Like you can grow a poppy as long as you don't know it makes opium, right? But the minute you know that, you're breaking the law. It's kind of a tricky little trick there, right? So, so there's a write-up that I give on that. But it's amazing, even with these herbalists with 15 years of average knowledge, average age of 45, there were still 4 herbs out of the 64 that these people didn't know. Isn't that amazing? And 3 of those herbs came from the same healing system. and one of them came from Chinese. And so I want to shift over from herbs to healing systems right now to emphasize that right now we need to be aware that the healing systems are coming into this country really fast. And you probably, a lot of you are caught up in that, in the excitement of it. And I want to say to you that this is important. It's the same thing that happened in Rome. If you've ever read Terence McKenna or whatever, you understand that time really works in a spiral. And we're passing over the same place when the Roman Empire controlled the whole world. And so we, as America, have a control over the whole world. And what you get from that is all the defeated cultures send their emissaries to the capital of the ruling, the ruling culture. So in this country, the ideas and people are flooding in to teach us all the conquered cultures of the world. And it overwhelmed Rome. They went into debauchery, they spun out and lost it. And we have to be very careful not to lose it. And that's by being conscious of what we're doing and remembering the connection from where the stuff is coming from. So we need to send emissaries from us back out to these cultures and understand, where's the dandelion coming from? Where's the mugwort coming from? Where's the tree of heaven coming from? We need to send people there and do the same kind of thing I've been doing, is get the stories and bring those back to us so we can know who these plants really are for us and what these healing systems really are for us, so we can understand. It's a lot of work, and we all have a role in that in some way. So you need to find what is sparking from all the things I'm saying. Some of the stuff is blah, 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 and other of the stuff is sparking you. Find those sparks and go with them as far as you can, and then bring the knowledge back to the circle so we can all grow in it. No matter how hard, I've been working at it 14 years and I'm still a child in this kind of work that we're doing together here. So I asked the herbalists about healing systems of the world. What healing systems did they rely on in their healing? Like if you go to some herbalist or some healer around here, what are they likely to be? Who are their teachers? What healing systems do they rely on? And not surprising, many of them rely on Western herbalism, as you would hope. They're well trained in Western and they're confident about it. That's how they responded. I'm confident in Western herbalism. And they also said they were most of them said they were very confident in nutrition, and that they could consult people on nutrition, which needs a huge overhaul. If you're looking around at like food is calories and fats and carbohydrates and proteins, it's a crude reductionist method. Remember, there's millions of chemicals that come into making us balanced and healthy. We're not going to go into that, but realize if you have a simplistic view of nutrition, open up, because there's a lot more to it that isn't going to come out in vitamins or in eating 3 square meals a day. You need to really recognize that nutrition has a huge overhaul when the holistic viewpoint comes in, because it talks about energy of food, not just the food as a matter. Okay, there were 3 other areas that these herbalists felt strong in. The 3 areas were Chinese medicine. 87% of them used Chinese things. So most of you now know the word like moxibustion, a moxa stick. Well, that was taken from that culture. And it's important, and we can all be doing moxas, and I can show you how to make a moxa stick, but we want to know the stories of how. It's not just this separate little stick burning. It actually has to do with a whole view of the body that we have to learn too, called meridians and energies, and it's a whole different system. We need to take the time to learn it. Some of us need to become masters of it and teach all of us practical aspects about it. They all felt, 87% that they used Native American knowledge in their healing. And so we all know, not all, and if you don't know these things, don't feel belittled or anything, just make a note and look into it deeper. But many of us know about sweat lodges, right? And you can do a traditional Dakota sweat lodge, or you can do a sauna, right? And you're going to get healing from it. But we want to know the stories of how to do a sweat lodge. There's ways to do them that make them more effective than other ways. And so there's knowledge that has to come in. That's just an example. But these people, and then remarkably, which is a beautiful thing, like I said, in '97, very few people knew about Ayurveda. Well, actually, 84% of these herbalists use aspects of Ayurveda in their healing, especially about body types and different kinds of herbs and things that you can use for digestion and nerves and all.